PowHER TV, lifestyle and leadership integrated, building a stronger nation, one woman at a time.
I wonder what would happen if, instead of running from grief and suppressing sadness and avoiding uncomfortable situations, I actually embraced them, knowing that those emotions and others bring with them lessons and opportunities for growth. I wonder how my physical experiences would change if I rewrote the stories that I tell myself. Am I brave enough to rewrite my own story? This is PowHER TV. I'm Kate Bergen. On today's show, Jodine Buydens, a horse whisperer from Vancouver Island who brings teachings from horses into the realm of human leadership, communication, and interaction. How to create the experience you want to have.
By allowing myself to just look at the reality of the situation and feel the grief.
Move Me, Jody Jackson, performance coach, clearing the mind on the trails in Cobble Hill, British Columbia. No one is left behind when riding with the Dirt Divas.
But the truth is this stuff is made in the same way we take opium sap and turn it into heroin.
Fuel Me, Sherry Strong, food philosopher, chef, and nutritionist, and recovering sugaraholic, lighting up more brain receptors than the most damaging drugs. Teach Me, Laura Grizzly Paws, overcoming challenges and obstacles, lessons from the horse on patience, trust, and communication. And finally, our note to self, Steely Springham, inspirational conversationalist and coach, brings it all home, moving from inspiration into action. PowHER TV, this is what happens when Canadian women making an impact in sport, business, the arts, and community leadership come together. Inspire me with purpose, passion, and power. We are Canadian women who are thriving in our fields, and we know that by lifting up, by leading, by creating, and by collaborating, that we can achieve things that are limitless. PowHER TV is about stories, solutions, and insights by women for women. I'm pretty excited to be in conversation with Jodine Buydens today. She was a horse-crazy girl. She comes from a very horsey family. She's a horse whisperer, for real, and she's written a book called If Your Horse Could Talk. She's now the director of the Equestrian Center at Queen Margaret's School in Duncan. At this point, you might be asking yourself, what does this have to do with me as a woman and my everyday life? I'm not a horsey person. Well, I wasn't a horsey person either at all, but I had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with horses, not even enough to get on one. And I realized that simply by tuning into their presence, I was able to tune in to my own presence. And that is a human lesson. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
We're here today to celebrate you, what you do in this community, and what insights and inspiration we can gain by you sharing your story with us. When you were writing your book, you thought that was the end game, but it evolved into something completely different. What did it evolve into?
Well, I think what happened is, in my book, I was sharing about my own journey with horses, and I included a lot of personal stories to share kind of the knowledge portion of what I was writing about. But in looking at the personal stories and my own journey with horses, I realized how much I'd learned about myself
as a human,
yeah. And about leadership and about relationships and communication. And then I started to want to explore more about that and also explore how could I share it with people. So as I was going out on my behavior consultations helping people with their problem horses, I started to really have to look at what was going on for them as well. Knowing how much who I was when I showed up with a horse affected the horses, I knew it was the same for other people.
And so people would think that it was a problem with the horse, and you were asking the people to look inwards to themselves and how they were contributing to that dynamic?
Well, I think it's with any relationship. It's, yes, the horse can show up, and it's not that it was always a people person and not a horse problem, but even if we are having a difficult relationship, it's how we show up, how do we deal with it, what skills do we need to learn. I used to say a lot to people is, you wouldn't send your husband away to another wife to get trained and come back to you and expect him to be fixed and everything to be the same.
Right.
You'd know that it was something that you both had to work on.
Right.
Of all the life lessons I learned from horses, it was how much as humans we suffer unnecessarily.
How so?
Just about what I love about horses, so I will do what I do and share about horses, is that, you know, they really live in the present moment. And the portion of the brain that we have that deals with creating story, horses don't have that.
Right.
But
what would
they
be
have
an example of a story that, as a woman, we might create in our everyday life?
Well, I always use the story of watching my two horses together, and Breeze and Izzy. And Izzy wouldn't share her hay with Breeze, and she kept getting really grumpy with Breeze and chasing her away and threatening to bite her. And Breeze would just leave, look at her choices, and then an hour later they'd be grazing together, spending time together. And it's that what I always explain to people is, as humans, if we were up together and we were at the movies and I said, oh, can I have some of your popcorn? And you said no.
It's my popcorn.
You know, as women, what we tend to do is go through all the different possibilities. Instead of just going, well, that's her choice, she doesn't want to share, what are my options?
Right.
We tend to go, oh, I wonder if Kate's mad at me. Maybe she got her hair done and I didn't notice. Maybe she had a really bad day at work.
Maybe I didn't return the email fast enough.
Yeah, or I might go into another story about, she's always like this. I give so much to her and she never gives anything to me. This relationship is one-sided. And going into all the stories that aren't actually true, or we don't know if they're true.
But we make them true.
We make them true,
Right.
and we pull that into our physical experience. Whereas what horses taught me is, look at the facts of the moment and then make a decision. For horses, when it comes to emotion or any reaction, there's no such thing as good or bad. Everything is just simply information.
It's overcoming conditioning.
Exactly.
We're conditioning to put that good or bad judgment and the stories that go along with our experiences, and it's not serving us very well.
No, and when we get in those stories, it doesn't actually lead us to make strong decisions. You know, it doesn't help us look at what we can do to do things differently. And I think that's where I'm passionate about leadership, is helping people really ground in what's right for them and what they're passionate about, so that they can make a difference.
Okay. We're going to be back with more from Jodine Buydens, how you actually have the power to create the experience that you want to have, and how Jodine put this into practice around the death of her mother.
Did you know that the first bike was invented in 1817? And my journey started, well, quite some time after that, in the 1960s, on a tricycle. And then my big brother Mark taught me how to ride a bicycle, and I've been pretty much doing it ever since. Today, I'm at the Cobble Hill Mountain Recreation Area with the Dirt Divas, Tara Pollock and Natalie Jones. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So I would really like to know how this started.
Well, Tara and I were busy chasing men in the forest, and you know, not always having the best of times. And then we found each other, we met up, and we started riding and developing our skill. And things evolved from there, and other women approached us, asking us, you know, to take them out and teach them some skills. And then the Dirt Divas were born.
We've got a big variety of gals, age range from 12 till 62 in years of age, so a broad spectrum, beginner to advanced, and it's a good time.
So all levels and all ages is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and we help break down the barriers of how mountain biking is a bit technical and whatnot, so we break things down to make it a little bit easier to start.
Now the Move Me is all about body, mind, and spirit. So tell me a little bit about maybe physical benefits, mental. I mean, it's a gorgeous setting that you're riding in.
Well, physical, fitness, just getting out on the bike, getting out into the forest. You're almost playing, but you're getting fit at the same time. It's a great sport for fitness. Mind, You have to focus and think about what you're doing when you're on the bike, otherwise you end up off the bike. And so you clear your mind. It's really, you can't bring work or your stresses from home. You're focused on the route and the rocks and whatever. And then the friends that you're with, you often leave from a ride just feeling lighter and better. The confidence you get from just realizing that you can do new things. This was really intimidating for me when I started, but to see where I've come, it has been a real confidence boost.
And I imagine you see that with a lot of your ladies too.
Oh, that's the best part. It kind of fills us up. You see someone start out and within a year or two they're off. They're building social networks, they're meeting on their own time outside of our rides, and they're, making friendships and getting fit at the same time. And so there's a group for every level of rider and skill and fitness.
The main rule of the group is no one gets left behind. That's what I say every ride, and it's a social ride. It's not race pace ride or whatever.
And that's what this is all about, Move Me. Get moving out there. Here's another option for you. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you.
And Tara Pollock and Natalie Jones of the Cowichan Valley Dirt Divas.
We often think that things that happen to us, external things, dictate and control how we feel, what we can do, what we can't do, what we're capable of doing. When Jodine Buydens' mother was diagnosed with cancer in 2012, and they were very, very close, she was faced with something that she did not want to face and that she had no control over. So you decided very consciously to create the experience that you wanted to have. That sounds almost impossible, overwhelmed with emotions in a moment like that. How do you do that?
I think for me it was, for the first time, I'm a person who, because I like to, impact change, and I like to go out there and do things, and if I see something I want, I go for it. It was in a really different position to be able to not do anything physically. But what I realized is the only thing I did have control over was how I chose to experience the situation. So understanding that when I had sadness, when I had grief, it was there for a reason, and grief is really about, its message for us is really about that there's something we need to let go of. So I noticed by being willing to step into my emotions and be present with them, and really, instead of getting into stories about them, just allow myself to feel them and be in my body as they happened.
So what would a story around grief be that wasn't serving you well?
It was a long process with my mom over a period of years. And there was a whole bunch of endings along the way. The relationship changed. I went from having a mom who cared for me my whole life to being a caregiver for her. And it was understanding that when I could get into a story about how it shouldn't be happening, how it was unfair it was happening, how I didn't want it to be happening, but the truth was it was happening. So by allowing myself to just look at the reality of the situation and feel the grief. So I think I did a lot of grieving throughout the process for all the little things.
When it came time for her celebration of life, you weren't sad on that day. And that's a kind of a hard pill for some people to swallow. I get it.
Yeah.
And you created the experience so strongly for yourself.
I think it goes, there's kind of a first part of the story that if we have time I'd really love to share, is that I had two very good friends, Michelle and Angus Ross, who Angus had gotten sick before my mom, and he passed away about a few months before my mom did. And he was this really upbeat person. And
Pursuit of excellence?
Pursuit of
I
excellence.
think I know Angus. Yeah.
So I was asked to spend some time with Angus when he was, in palliative at his own home in the last week of his life. And he was still so positive. And, the doctor, there was actually a doctor in to see him. And the doctor said, he thought we weren't talking, he said to me, Jodine, Angus is really special. I've never seen anyone like this. And Angus says, what do you mean? He pipes up from his bed. And the doctor said, you're still joking around, you're still laughing. And he said, if I could do one thing if I came back, if I got a chance at another life, it would be to show people that death doesn't have to be sad or horrible. And because I'd had that experience with him, I knew it was a possibility. So when it came to my mom's celebration of life, to me, it was this gift that I could give back to her and to all the people that loved her. Was that Angus had shared that with me. Michelle had opened it up so I could be a part of that. And I could share it with other people, with my mom, and I got to celebrate her. And how amazing that this woman had been on this earth and given so much to so many people. And I think it was choosing a perspective to look at. Do I want to look at it that she left my life way too early? Because a part of me does feel that. Or do I want to focus on, look at all I had. How lucky was I to have her as a mother? How lucky was every person who met her to have that gift? And I think it's that choice. And so I chose at that time to do that. Not that I never had grief, but I allowed myself to feel the grief, but I also allowed myself to feel the joy. And I think when we block one, we block the other.
Okay. We're going to come back. I think we need to talk about finding possibilities in situations around us. You're watching PowHER TV.
Sugar, sugar, da 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 da. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. There you go.
Hi, my name is Sherry, and I'm a sugarholic, and I have been clean and sober for 1 day. Now, that might sound kind of funny, except for the fact at one point in my life, I was a sugarholic. Well, pretty much for the first 40 years of my life. And it's one of those things that I don't know if it ever goes away. In fact, I used to start off the morning with half a liter of ice cream. And I didn't stop eating sugar until I went to bed that night. And I had all kinds of health problems. And we're seeing now that sugar is connected to almost every major disease. In fact, Dr. Nancy Appleton, in her book, Lick the Sugar Habit, connects sugar with 144 ways that it ruins your health. And I wonder, can you honestly say that you don't have a problem with sugar? And don't feel bad, and I'm certainly not meaning to put you on the spot, but the truth is this stuff is made in the same way we take opium sap and turn it into heroin, and coca leaves and turn it into cocaine. And as a result, this stuff lights up the brain 8 times more, the brain receptors for addiction. So it's not a wonder that when it's so cheap and widely available, that so many people, so many of us, have a problem with it. So licking the sugar habit is something that we can all do and we need to do, because what happens is that it can actually strip nutrients from your body. It will have you on an emotional roller coaster, and it messes with nourishing your brain that will enable you to do powerful things in this world. At a conference recently, a nutrition conference, a nutritionist got up and said, "I'm a nutritionist and I'm addicted to sugar." So it doesn't matter how resourced you are or how much money you have. This is a universal problem, and here's 3 ways that you can start to lick the sugar habit. Take these sugars and get rid of them. They serve no purpose in your cupboard. And switch to natural sugars like coconut palm sugar. Just the cost alone will reduce your consumption. And then move to natural fruits when you're wanting a bit of that sweetness. The other thing you can do is get yourself to a farmer's market where it really brings a joyful way of shopping, and you can bring in the veg that will really help curb those sugar cravings. And if that's not working, you can try chromium and magnesium as supplements to help curb those cravings. It will make a big difference. And the last thing I want to leave you with is often we revert to these sugars because we're missing out on the sweet life. And if we start to bring in sweet conversations and start to be kinder to ourselves, we'll find ourselves less and less going to that cupboard or the fridge looking for just that little bit of sweetness, because we'll already have it within ourselves. And if you're looking for more tips, tools, strategies, and recipes for a powerful way to nourish, energize, and protect your body, go to returntofood.com.
The horse way of life is very influential in myself and my family as a rider, as a horse owner. So you begin to apply the teachings of the horse in your daily lives, in your colleagues, in your workplace, in your relationships, and how you communicate and interact. And one of the greatest things about overcoming challenges and obstacles is that things do get worse in our lives at times. But the horse reminds us, no matter what, that, yeah, they will get worse, but we do overcome those obstacles and those challenges. And just like riding, sometimes we have to go with the flow. If a horse is going to go and if he's going to buck, then there's nothing much that you can do but go with the flow and let him buck. and eventually that will stop, and you begin to apply those things in real life when working through challenges or obstacles. When training horses, you can't rush training. You have to go with the flow of the horse. The horse teaches you patience and also strategies and what works for them and what they appreciate. It's established based on trust, mutual respect, reciprocity. And once the horse gains that trust from you and knows that they can trust into you and what you're teaching them and mentoring them, they also teach us how they like to be taught and how they like to be communicated with. So how you communicate with your horse is also a practice in how we communicate with each other. We're gentle, patient, and kind, and loving unconditionally with the horse, just as we are in our families, in our homes, and in our communities.
Possibilities, tapping into the potential of possibilities. The first step, Jodine, is seeing them, acknowledging them, recognizing them. How do you tap into possibility, and how do you use that to move forward in life?
You know, a lot of it comes back to just being willing to be present to the experiences that are around me. Because I think sometimes we get so focused on going, and what we already know, we don't take any time to kind of pause and notice what is happening in the moment, what's going on around us, and we don't see the possibilities that are already there and that are presenting themselves to us.
And you go through a very conscious physical method of getting yourself into the moment.
I use my body as a physical cue to bring myself into the moment. So I notice my feet on the earth, or I could notice where, the feeling of sitting in the chair, or even touching my hands together, or just something to bring me back to the here and now.
You're very tuned into instinct. What does that mean for you? What does instinct mean for you?
Instinct for me is something I think we all naturally have, that intuition or instinct. And through my work with horses, I just got really good at fine-tuning it, and I think in honoring it. But it's trusting the part of ourselves that already knows. It's, I think, being brave enough to get out of our brain and out of trying to find all the answers in our head, and just trust when we have that little feeling, that niggle of, maybe I should say this, or I feel like calling that person, or this situation feels really bad, or I notice I'm really quite uncomfortable or scared, but I feel drawn anyway.
An uncomfortable or scared feeling isn't something people should shy away from or try to avoid. What do you think there is to be learned by embracing discomfort?
There's a type of fear that is, letting us know we're in danger, but I think often we even mistake discomfort and fear for the experience of vulnerability.
And why is vulnerability a good thing? Because it can be a good thing. I think we hide it. We try to hide it.
Try to hide it, but I think as a message, vulnerability is usually trying to tell us we're on the edge of something. It's about possibility. It's about there's something new for you to experience. And if we're open to it, it's going to feel different when we're going against what we already know or how we've always done things. But if we really want to create change in the world or experience something different in our life, we have to be willing to be vulnerable, which can feel very uncomfortable, and try something new or explore a different possibility.
When I hear you explain it, it sounds vulnerability becomes exciting.
Yeah, well, for me, when I feel that, where it used to be my stopping place, now I get excited. And when I get this feeling of uncomfortableness about something, but it's something I really want or something that I'm really feeling drawn to, that's a good thing. I know it's getting closer to me if I start to feel that. How do you know if it's
the wrong thing? Your instinct comes in because there's an uncomfortable that is a possibility, and there's an uncomfortable that could be a warning.
It's a different sensation in my body.
Right.
So there's this sensation of when I'm drawn to something but feeling uncomfortable, I can notice the discomfort, but it kind of moves around a little bit, and I still can feel pulled towards it, if that makes sense, which is a different feeling than this almost...
protect.
For me, it's a protect, or often what I'll feel is just this.
Right.
So, and it's even if I'm not moving, but it's that sensation in my body of that, it feels very heavy and hard and pulling back. And I think it's important for everyone to remember, you may not feel it the same way I do.
Right.
But if you can just take the time to pause, breathe, bring yourself and your body in all different experiences, you'll start to tune into what each thing feels like for you.
Jodine, thank you for letting us celebrate you and all that you do in the community in moving forward in whatever path you choose in life. It's time now, though, for a little bit of a Power Bite. It's a tradition we've started here on PowHER TV where we ask you to select a closing thought, a closing message, a Power Bite to leave our time with you on. Very purposeful in your selection, of course, of course.
Strong women understand the power of attraction. Who we are showing up as in our daily life attracts or repels opportunity.
I think that's fitting.
I think it is too.
Conversation we've had. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, here it is. Big day. Job interview. This could go one of two ways. I hate the way this suit fits. And this color is so not flattering. They should have worn navy. They always select the person in navy. You know what? They're probably looking for someone younger or with much more experience than what I have. But they won't pick me. I know I won't get it. Besides, I'm comfortable, right? I mean, I have a routine. I'm lucky to even have the current job that I have. Pay's okay, right? I mean, I don't have any real complaints. You know, they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I should just settle with comfortable. I think actually this whole stepping out of your comfort zone is highly overrated and a waste of time. I don't know what I'm doing here. They're not gonna pick me. They're not gonna pick me. Or it could go a completely different way if I just change my self-talk. I forgot how much I liked this outfit. You know, it used to be my lucky suit. I've landed every interview when I've worn it. Oh, this is gonna be good. I've worked diligently to reach this level of experience, and you know, whatever I don't know, I can learn in this position. They will see all of my potential. I am so excited to explore this opportunity. I will settle for comfortable in my life no more. I got this. Oh boy, do I got this. How you perceive and approach any situation and the words that you choose directly affect the tone of the experience that you're going to have. And then that becomes the memory. You ultimately decide the outcome by choosing your note to self. Note to self. When my inner dialogue is supportive, my experience becomes PowHERful.